Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. It's your host, Matt Zeha. We are buzzing as always. And folks, if you're wondering why this good-looking lad is still sitting across from me after hearing his voice last episode, it's because he produced the best episode of the Crypto News Pod we've ever had. It was legit all world. We were both a little tight for time and we decided, you know what, let's run it back. Let's go for round dose. The first time ever in 380 episodes that we've had a guest come back to back on the pod. The first ever two-part series. In case you missed the first one, I'm going to start with the intro and then I'm going to get into what we talked about. But we have Jeff Garzik back on the show today for, like I said, round two, co-founder and CEO of Bloq and the leader of the Hemi Network project. He has long been at the center of developing and commercializing open source software related to Bitcoin and blockchain tech, and previously spent 5 years as a Bitcoin core developer and 10 years at Red Hat. Folks, if you missed the first episode, definitely go listen to that one before you do tune into this one. Jeff touched a little bit of everything, being super early to the Linux ecosystem, literally working with Satoshi, one of the first people ever to work with Satoshi. Some incredible stories. Jeff also talked about this guy just was the pro, like all world anonymity, maybe even not CIA level, but like just all world anonymity. The stories were absolutely incredible. The early days of Bitcoin. Jeff got into Bitcoin, folks, before there was a price of Bitcoin. Absolutely wild stuff. And we also touched some present day Bitcoin and what it's like in today's world. Today's episode is going to be all about the future of Bitcoin, bridging Bitcoin and Ethereum, which ties into what Jeff and the team are building at Hemi, and of course, proof of proof, which I've never heard of before, didn't know about until I did research for the show, which is absolutely incredible as well. Jeff, we are back, baby. Pumped to have you on again. It's one day later. How you doing, my friend?
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for that intro. Definitely happy to talk about all things Bitcoin, Hemi, AI, art, the world, anything at all is on the menu.
That was so much fun. And one of all the things you said yesterday, and my goodness, you were just dropping gold left, right, and center. I knew what a network state was. I read Balaji's book. My apologies, I'm forgetting the name, that new network state that just raised 550 million, Praxus.
Praxus. I know Dryden at Praxus. He's a good guy.
Exactly. So I did a big deep dive before bed. You sort of screw up my sleep schedule too, Jeff. I was, getting ready to go to bed at like 10:30. I fire up the laptop and I was literally in bed with my knees up and I was like, okay, at 12 o'clock comes around. I'm like, Maddie, it's time to go to bed. But that was absolutely wild. Let's start with the network state before we get into everything Bitcoin related. This 550 million that was raised for Praxus. Are you getting involved in this? Are you pro this? Like, give me your whole take on Praxus and network states as a whole, as we really did just touch the surface there. And I'd love to take a deeper dive into that.
I am a proud Praxus Visa holder. So I try to be a user or a citizen at any of the serious micronation groups. I have a citizen card at a different project, Sealand, off the coast of Britain, which is one of the OG micronations, Sealand, the Principality of Sealand. And it's got a story. It's got a great origin story. Y'all should Google it after the pod. It's got pirates. It's got kidnappings and rescues and all sorts of stuff. And all these micronations have these fascinating origin stories. It's usually like a lone wolf pioneer and or his family are, kind of forging in the best pioneer spirit, a new land, a new nation. And I think that the world needs that kind of energy, that kind of innovation, that kind of turnover and renewal. We haven't had a new nation born into the world in 100 years or more. And I think that without that turnover, that Darwinian evolution, that things get stale. And you need new competition in governance, just like you need new competition in business and in markets. And competition is the crucible where, again, the products that we all live and breathe and buy and use every day, the crucible of competition hones those products in a particular direction. If one company doesn't have to compete, then the product gets stale. And the same thing happens with nation states. If there's no new products, meaning, a new twist on democracy or a new twist on citizens' rights or something like that, then the entire nation state governance idea becomes stale. So we need competition to keep ourselves sharp in our own company, our own countries, as well as introducing new ideas, testing new ideas in that crucible of innovation. So it's really not only the micronations that people are starting that are introducing new ideas, but you think I'm a chess player. I'm not a great chess player, but I use a lot of chess analogies. If you think 2, 3, 5, 10 chess moves ahead, you've got a couple micronations, a couple network states trying things new. How do existing nation states react? Well, there's an obvious and pessimistic answer, but what is the optimistic answer? And the optimistic answer is that nation states provide better citizen services for their own citizens. And they reflect and say, well, these guys are putting us to shame. To compete, we have to be better than that other country, have better services, encourage investment, growth, whatever your competitional axis is. That nation is ultimately going to serve their citizens better because of competition. So that's what nation states are introducing. It's new blood. It's the chaos of innovation, which yes can be chaotic, but at the same time it's innovation. It's asking, okay, what happens when you diffuse power too much in a democracy? You get, parliaments that can't do anything. What's a fresh take on that? And I love that people are thinking again, reasoning from first principles. What is freedom? What is a nation state? And trying to come up with some new answers. So I love it when people innovate in multi dimensions at the same time.
Well said. Super cool. And I absolutely had I was laughing out loud to myself on Twitter when I was looking at, like, we need applicants, we need software, engineers, software developers, we need bro science bodybuilders, we need marketers, we need AI researchers. I was like, that's a place I'd want to live. It was like, we need raw milk drinkers. It was just, we need seed oil free citizens. I was like, that's where I want to live, man. Like, sign me up for that. I absolutely love that. Let's jump into Bitcoin here. You literally put on a full-on masterclass TED Talk about the past and present day Bitcoin. We got to talk about the future of Bitcoin, some of its limitations, why it hasn't perhaps scaled beyond that store of value that it is today. And, feel free at any time to tie this into Bloq and Hemi and what you and the team are building there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Future of Bitcoin. I think as I covered in the last episode, it's absolutely bomb-proof. If you're at a high school prom, you're going to vote Bitcoin most likely to succeed over the next 10 years, 25 years, 50 years. And that strength is, metaphorically, it's the roots of the crypto tree. As roots in nature embed themselves in the ground and provide strength for the rest of the tree, I think that Bitcoin serves that function as well for the crypto industry. I have, one of my sound bites is there are 2 killer apps that have emerged from crypto since I began. I love innovation. What we see through multiple crypto cycles is people trying stuff, and we want people to try new ideas. We want to innovate. But again, there's that Darwin's crucible of innovation, which is the test of trial by fire. One of my favorite Linus Torvalds quotes, the inventor of Linux, paraphrasing, is that the internet is the best test lab in the world. You can't just build your software as a software engineer inside the test lab, test against test cases that you stress tests, unit tests, fuzz tests that you come up with. You got to test it in the real world. The real world is going to expose software bugs in your own software like nothing else. That was a maxim in the Linux days, and I carried that over into the Satoshi days and in Bitcoin. And that's absolutely true. And what has come out of that crucible, what has come out of the past 14 years of crypto? Number one killer app, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, BTC, the token, programmable money. It has clearly succeeded. It has clearly gotten a number of users, not only primary users, primary holders, but I judge this in terms of kind of a web or network of businesses, of investment products, of attorneys, of custody companies, other companies that are building on Bitcoin today. And again, it's kind of the roots go up that tree, that metaphorical tree I just described. Bitcoin has that far beyond any other crypto. And it's regulatory wise, technology wise, social network effect wise, it is tip top in all those. And the survivability, like we talked about last episode, the internet was built to survive a nuclear war. I think, if the internet in any form survives, then Bitcoin survives. That apocalypse, that nuclear war. And so Bitcoin is killer app number one. What is recently emerging killer app number two is stablecoins. And so there have been a ton of blockchain networks. There's, the world coin with the orb eyeball and all sorts of innovation, crazy and not. There's, bad actors and good actors. And what comes out the end of all of that crucible, Darwin's crucible, is that stablecoins are a natural complement to cryptocurrencies. Until you can get into some deep monetary discussions about when the U.S. dollar gets unstable and Bitcoin is more stable than the U.S. dollar, but that's pretty far down the road. I try to be be based, be pragmatic. What the real people need today? Real people's needs, not abstract needs, and that's. The cryptocurrencies are more volatile than the US dollar. And so they need a spending currency that's not going to change 5% in 24 hours. That's just tether. Super basic. Yeah. And so what we're seeing today is the merging of those two killer apps. Number one, Bitcoin, number two, stablecoins. Is that you're starting to, in the past several years, being able to collateralize your Bitcoin, lock up your Bitcoin, mint some stable coins, have your daily spending money, or put those stable coins into a yield generating vehicle while still holding your Bitcoin, or similarly your Ethereum or other currencies. So we're starting to see those two killer apps merge. But there are also a lot of pain points. I'll talk about a little bit of that in the Hemi section, but you asked about the future of Bitcoin. I think the future of Bitcoin is more stable. It's maybe a little bit ossified and a little bit less changing than the other blockchains. And that's okay. And that's a good thing. It being rock solid, stable, and dependable is a massive quality in a world of, oh crap, we got to reboot our blockchain. Blockchain that I won't mention, one of our competitors, because it's been going too fast and it froze up, and now they have to reboot the entire decentralized network. That's kind of like the old joke from the 1990s when I was growing up about Microsoft. Microsoft, if they built a car, it would go 100 miles an hour or 200, but it would crash randomly and lose brakes unexpectedly. The steering wheel would fall off, and you just kind of dust yourself off and expect, yeah, every now and again, my car just randomly explodes. And that's how we deal with it. It's that's not supposed to be the blockchain experience. Blockchain experience, again, is supposed to be so stable, so dependable that it's a neutral referee. You're literally putting a level of trust in the blockchain itself. And so you need something stable, you need something dependable. And one of my philanthropic interests, longnow.org, they look at like 10,000 years in the future, absurd lengths of time in the future. And not quite this far in the future, but I think 100 years from now, Bitcoin's still going to be here. And so if I'm going to hold an asset, if I'm going to build on top of a network, then that level of pragmatism says you ought to build on Bitcoin. And that's part of the inspiration for what I'm working on today, Hemi.
I love that. Now, I mean, when you were talking about cryptos to MVPs, I was like, maybe he's going to say ETH, but you didn't say ETH. But to my knowledge, you and the team at Hemi, you guys are working on ETH. What's the whole deal with that there, Jeff?
We are, and we like to say that Bitcoin and ETH are kind of the king and queen of crypto. I've, came out of Bitcoin, grew up on the Bitcoin streets, but Ethereum, I say, is the grand central station of Bitcoin. The grand central station of crypto. Ethereum's the grand central station of crypto. Bitcoin is that root of the tree, that rock solid foundation. But at the same time, and getting a little bit into developer land, Bitcoin script is very hard to develop on. Yep. And we saw this, honestly, starting 10 years ago with the birth of Ethereum. Ethereum really hived off a number of the developers because it was far easier to build on. And you could do things in Ethereum that you simply can't do in Bitcoin. To be abstract, Bitcoin lacks self-sovereign contract addresses, meaning that you don't have a contract that when you send it Bitcoin, it actually actuates some special logic like a lending market or a DEX or something like that. The Bitcoin script is intentionally very limited. That gives it high security. But again, limited is limited. So starting 2014 era when Ethereum was launched, that grabbed a lot of developer mind share. Ethereum, being a lot easier to program, quickly became the home of decentralized exchanges or DEXs. And it's with a little bit of envy as a Bitcoin guy originally that truly decentralized exchanges emerged on Ethereum. And it was because of that self-sovereign contract address specifically, not anything specific about Ethereum script. It's more futuristic AI type of categorization. There's this autonomous entity on chain in Ethereum and the other EVM blockchains, and that can actuate completely independent smart contract codes. So that, to me, with my science fiction heart, that's robotics, that's autonomous robots, that's kind of the future of AI, the future of decentralization. And more practically, again, it brought decentralized crypto exchanges back to users, back to the user level. Prior to that, a little bit of a history note. Primarily, you'd have centralized exchanges, your Coinbases, your Krakens, et cetera. And there were very few, if any, completely decentralized exchanges. Yeah. And this created a kind of, I think, a little bit negative atmosphere because it centralized a lot of power at each crypto exchange. And it kind of put the crypto exchanges in the driver's seat in a way that is not really compatible with decentralized programming, being a decentralized network. And so they were centralizing forces. And again, Ethereum came along and decentralize that. So that was, to me, proof pudding that Ethereum is a clear component in this, total decentralization picture. And fast forwarding 10 years to now, what is Ethereum's role? If you're going to go from one crypto asset to another crypto asset, most likely you're going to go through Ethereum. If you're going from one blockchain to another, you're probably going to go through one of like layer 0 or wormhole or another one of these technologies that is based on Ethereum mainnet and connects to a number of ancillary networks. And so that is, that's why I call Ethereum the Grand Central Station of crypto. And I think the king and queen of crypto, again, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum has almost the staying power of Bitcoin. I give Bitcoin a slight edge, because A, I'm biased. B, it's been around longer. But if you're voting, most likely to succeed after Bitcoin at that high school prom,
it's ETH.
Ethereum is going to be the clear number 2 choice. So that 100%. Was. There's no question that those two are the king and queen, the crown jewels of crypto, but both of them suffer from some similar inherent to blockchain problems. When you get a busy blockchain, the network fees go up. I think yesterday I was trying to put some crypto assets into a lending market to earn some interest, and it cost me almost $15 just to make a single transaction. This is normal for decentralized networks. This is a decentralized network working properly. At macroeconomically, you want systems to be self-balancing, just like congestion pricing on some highways here in America. When the highway gets full, they increase the price to balance out that traffic. When the highway's empty, they decrease the price to 0 so that when it's not congested. Similarly, the way Bitcoin, Ethereum, most other blockchains work is it's an auction for block space. Yeah. And when times are congested, when there's a lot of traffic, those fees go straight up. And for normal users, again, I really try to ground myself with not yourself or myself. We're pretty enlightened crypto ecosystem folks, but the average person encountering crypto, it sucks if you're sending $20 and it costs another $20 to send that $20. It's just not economically viable at congestion times. And so I like to draw the analogy, and this is what's happening with the layer 2 blockchain networks, of you have a primary highway, a primary road, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And when those roads get full, and or Darwin's crucible has produced a natural sharding, especially in the Ethereum ecosystem, but also in the Bitcoin ecosystem of layer 2 blockchains. And just like for another metaphor, imagine the champagne waterfall you find at weddings or hotel receptions. The champagne comes down into the first glass. That first glass fills up, and then it spills over into the second layer of glasses. Those glasses slowly fill up, and it spills over into the third layer, and so on and so on. That's what's happening today with the layer 2 networks. I wrote in a paper in 2015 how Bitcoin was going to become largely a settlement network, is that it would frequently become too expensive to pay for coffee with Bitcoin. It would just be not economically viable. And so you'd want to be on networks like Lightning, where there's just a single hop on, and then it's very, very, very low fees. And I'd argue that Lightning was one of the first layer 2 networks. Now we have these layer 2 networks that you can transfer your digital assets to, such that you can hop off that congested highway and transact in much lower fees with more features, more innovation, and then hop back onto Bitcoin or Ethereum and be secure with your assets. So that was the picture that we saw developing. That's as we record this today, that's definitely the picture today, and that's what Hemi, the blockchain that we created, wanted to play into. A number of our competitors, they created a Bitcoin L2, where if you're on Bitcoin, you can hop over to a blockchain, but it's just kind of an isolated island. Similarly, exactly. And Ethereum L2s, if you're on Ethereum, you can hop over to another island. But Hemi is totally different. It's interlinking both networks so you're not an island anymore. You're linked to Bitcoin through a protocol called Proof of Proof that my CTO, Max Sanchez, invented. And that's anchoring us into Bitcoin and providing Bitcoin finality. And on the Ethereum side, we've got an Optimism compatible bridge such that a non-custodial user of Ethereum similarly can bridge over to our network and perform, all manner of DeFi, AI, gaming, whatever your vertical is. And at the end of the day, you can go back to either network. So you're not on an island. You can even bridge from Ethereum to Hemi to Bitcoin or back again. And then finally, it's not just a blockchain. It's not just a bridge. Hemi actually does something that no one else in the world does. We embed a Bitcoin node inside our Ethereum node.
Yes.
That's right. And we call it HVM, or riff off of Ethereum's EVM, is for the first time in Ethereum smart contract script, you can talk to the live Bitcoin chain. So I can, in my Ethereum style smart contracts, Solidity, etc., I can parse incoming Bitcoin payments on the Bitcoin main chain. And I can send out Bitcoin payments on the main Bitcoin chain from Hemi. And so I'm doing this on the Hemi layer where it's low fees, but the Hemi engine, the Hemi node itself, is again both an Ethereum node and a Bitcoin node together. And so it has a live view of the Bitcoin network. So as a nerd and a Bitcoin developer, this is such an expanse over the limited Bitcoin script. To me, this is, supercharging Bitcoin and supercharging Bitcoin script because it brings so much more power to Bitcoin itself.
That is wild. Jeff, you're on a roll. We got to take a quick break. When we get back, you got to explain a non-super tech guy like me, and I assume most of our listeners, how the hell you guys wrapped a full Bitcoin node inside an EVM and how you let both networks to deliver their respective capabilities. But until then, huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends of cryptonews.com and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News pod. We love Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. You can use the promo code CryptoNews50, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Jeff. Man, sometimes on those ad reads, I gotta come up for air. I feel like I'm just underwater. I gotta breathe more. Jeez Louise. Okay, jumping back in. Well, I want to go back to two things that I'd love for you to touch on, Jeff. The Hemi VM, which is HVM. Number one, I'd love for you to explain in sort of layman terms for the non-tech folks. Again, this is an impossible question. My apologies in advance. If you could somehow, you're so good with the analogies and metaphors. If you could somehow give one for that, that would be huge. And a follow-up would just be to talk about proof of proof and how that makes so much sense, why no one's ever thought of it before, and what exactly it is. Again, two things: explain the whole Bitcoin node being wrapped inside the EVM, how, it lets the chains deliver both of their respective capabilities, and to the follow-up, give us the goods on POP.
I confess I don't have yet a good analogy for that. I mainly gush as well. Wow, it's amazing for developers. But I struggle to kind of paint the picture for non-developers at the same time. You know, you get me in a room with other Bitcoin developers and everybody's nodding their heads. Yeah, that's far more powerful and a lot easier.
Of course.
But it's several layers removed from average users. And so stepping back out, zooming back out a little bit, constructing an analogy, maybe my analogy is you have your coins, your gold in one physical building on Earth, and in order to do something useful with it, like put it in a bank and earn some interest on it, you have to pick up your gold and physically move it to another building, and then you're credited with that interest. But when you want to cash it out and do something useful with it, you have to physically pick it up and move it back to that first building.
Huge
in
pain.
our analogy. Well, with Hemi, there is that initial move is you need to move some assets to the Hemi blockchain, but once it's on that Hemi blockchain, once it's in the Hemi building, you don't have to do that, move assets over here and then move assets over here, then move assets over here type of shuffle that's all too common in crypto and all too annoying, if I may speak freely. So what Hemi does is allow developers to build applications that allow you to do interesting, useful, productive, lucrative things with your Bitcoin assets, your Ethereum assets, ordinals, runes, similar NFTs on the Ethereum side, all within that Hemi building. And it's with full awareness of Bitcoin and Ethereum that we can do that through the Hemi HVM, that integration of a Bitcoin node inside an Ethereum node, something that nobody's ever done before. So it's a lot fewer steps to accomplish the same thing. It's a lot less, I'd argue, less risk when you have fewer steps, because each time you move your digital assets, there's some level of risk. So reducing those number of hops is going to reduce your risk and increase your security. And then proof of proof. Proof of proof is the protocol that we use to anchor or secure Hemi to the Bitcoin blockchain. As we talked about last episode and this episode, Bitcoin is absolutely bomb-proof. It's the most secure blockchain, bar none. And so we want to use some cryptographic math, some cryptographic tricks called anchoring, to put the Hemi blockchain key information, it's called keystones, key information into the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, why do you want to do that? Bitcoin, among many other attributes, is censorship-resistant. And this is an incredibly powerful attribute of almost every blockchain. I won't say every blockchain because some are centralized. And with that censorship resistance, that means that we can put our key data, our key information, our hashes from the Hemi blockchain into Bitcoin, and that allows in a mathematical proof sense, it allows someone to prove that you're in Bitcoin, and once you prove you're in Bitcoin, you can prove Hemi, and once you're in Hemi, you can prove your transaction. There's like a chain of logic or a chain of proofs. And that's where the protocol gets its name, proof of proof. It embeds your proofs, this is the Hemi blockchain special info, into the proof of work that the Bitcoin blockchain is secured by. I'm probably losing half our listeners at this point.
No, people get this. People get
but
this.
But you're stacking proofs on top of proofs. And so that gives us what we call super finality. When you have a transaction, it goes into a block. That's called finality. And when that block, that Hemi block, is embedded in a Bitcoin block, that's super finality. And so it really borrows from Bitcoin's incredibly secure blockchain network, its network effect, its
Yeah,
censorship resistance. And so we could think of no better security base than Bitcoin. Some alternatives are known as merged mining. And this is an alternative to our proof of proof security system. Merge mining is a system where you have to go knock on the doors of a sufficient number of miners and the mining cartel to beg and plead and say, please secure my blockchain in your pool and in your pool and in your pool. And again, that harkens back to my 2014 history note from earlier in the podcast. It's a little bit it's too centralized to have to knock on the doors of people to get your transactions secure. That's
100%.
not decentralization in its purest form. And so proof of proof goes directly to what I call the Bitcoin cloud service, the Bitcoin network, using normal Bitcoin transactions to secure the Hemi blockchain. And that's proof of proof in a nutshell.
I love that. We are getting a little tight for time. Jeff, you're on a roll again. We got to touch the $15 million raise. Heck, we've been chatting for, 2 hours now, and I still haven't even congratulated you on that. Huge congrats to you and the team. Just a classic question here, a bit of a low-hanging fruit one. I know everyone's always curious. When teams raise money, how and why and what do they deploy those funds? So I'm going to throw the ball over to your court. Congrats on the 15 mil. What are you guys doing with that?
Well, we've been building for quite some time what we call the Bloq, BLOQ.com, Bloq Mothership is an entity that we're builders. We build and we spin out. And we've been building Hemi for about 2 years, and now we're spinning it out. It's going to have a dedicated core team. It's going to have the usual marketing and growth segments. And it's really to plant a flag in the ecosystem and almost grab people's attention. We could have done this bootstrapping, but you don't get the best partners in the world unless you're raising from other investors. Yep. You're tapping those networks of those investors and really getting a truly global reach.
Yeah, well said there. Last but not least, any other areas, anything else in regards to Hemi that you'd love to throw into the cookie jar before we let you go today? Again, we've discussed absolutely everything. And I just want to throw in a little 2 cents here. I know there's a lot of sports people who listen to the pod. It seems there's a big sort of convergence of sports and crypto. Maybe it's just the strict gambling aspect. Think of Hemi as a mix between, Tom Brady being Bitcoin, your steady in the pocket quarterback, and maybe like a Lamar Jackson, who might be a little more volatile, running all over the place, an absolute purebred world-class athlete. That's what Hemi is. It mixes the best parts. You got the Tom Brady in the pocket, throwing dimes and darts all day long, and you got Lamar running around the field like Ethereum, really moving the needle. So maybe not the best analogy or metaphor on my end, but just a way for the listeners at home to sort of understand the 2 big behemoths, like Jeff said, Bitcoin the king, Ethereum the queen, finally converging, coming together, allowing for the store of value and the security of Bitcoin plus the functionality of Ethereum. Just exactly what we want to see, and you guys are finally working on that. So kudos to you guys. But before we let you go, anything else about Hemi that you'd love to throw at us before we leave? I know testnet is still around. Can you give us any goods on when mainnet's going to launch?
Sure. Well, people can find us at hemi.xyz, on Twitter, X at hemi_XYZ. Our incentivized testnet is open and live now, so you can test right now today without having to expend any money. You can deploy smart contracts. You can test bridging. All of our other features are live right now in test mode. We're going live for real. Mainnet is by the end of the year. I don't want to record a specific date and then get called out, but that's the best that I'm going to do right now. But everything is ready internally. We're getting all our ducks in a row in terms of legals and all the boring paperwork details that you have to go through, thanks to the U.S. SEC. But once all the lawyers are happy, et cetera, going live before the end of the year. Super excited. And I think it's going to make a real splash. I think it's going to attract both Bitcoin maxis, Bitcoin moderates, Ethereum heads, and the new innovators that are building the 5th, 6th, 10th app that I haven't even thought of yet, whether it's perpetual markets or sports or gaming. There's some interesting AI marketplace stuff. There's a lot of AI noise right now, and every other pitch deck seems to have AI on it, but there's some signal there as well. And I'm really excited about some of the AI prospects, AI plus Hemi. So all of that's going to be unfolding through the end of the year and into the new year, and I couldn't be more excited.
Congrats, man. Super happy for you and the team. Last question for me, and it's going to be a shitty one here. Coin, any coin plans? Can you give us any goods on that?
Coin plans? You mean TGE?
Yeah, give us TG, anything like that. Is that all out already?
Yeah, I'm gonna be super tight-lipped on that.
Yeah, I figured I couldn't get that out of you. I figured because again, folks, obviously the investors who did invest do have coins, but they haven't invested yet. But for the average Joes like you and I, not you, but for you and I being the listeners, as soon as that goes live, I mean, not financial advice, but if I'm a gambling man, and I probably wouldn't bet against Jeff and the team. Jeff, incredible episode. Really appreciate you coming on. Incredible 2-part series. Can't wait to have you on for round 3. Until then, wishing you and the team all the best. And if we don't chat for a couple months, good luck in that race you got coming up too. Pumped for you.
Sounds good. I'm having a blast. Thanks so much, Matt.
Folks, what an episode with Jeff Garzik, the first ever 2-part series on the Crypto News pod. Truly an all-world performance by Jeff. Just some incredible stories dating back to the first epi, working with Satoshi, the early days of Bitcoin, present day Bitcoin. And I hope you enjoyed everything on part 2 on the future of Bitcoin, bridging Bitcoin and Ethereum, proof of proof, you name it. Jeff touched it. Huge shout out to Jeff and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys for everything. Eustace, you are the man. And back to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags, keep on printing, and keep on staying happy, wealthy, and healthy. Love you guys, and see you on the next one. Ciao.